And when there is a promise of a storm, if you want change in your life, walk into it. If you get on the other side, you will be different. And if you want change in your life and you're avoiding the trouble, you can forget it. So Harriet would say, wade on in the water. It's going to really be troubled water. And that's from Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's an a cappella group that sings spirituals. Storms. If you walk into a storm and you want change in your life, you're going to be different. Some people look at New Year's as a time to pivot, turn, and make a change in their life. Some of us make New Year's resolutions that we may or may not keep during the upcoming year. But in order to make a change, you must understand that there will be adversity that hits you. Usually that adversity hits either in the form of an internal struggle or an external struggle. Internal struggles happen because we lack discipline, we lack purpose, we lack direction, or we are unsure of what we are called to do. External trouble comes from when we have embraced those around us who speak into our lives things that should not be. Remember, and I know some of you aren't Christian, but that's okay. I appreciate you listening anyway. Jesus gave a parable about sowing seeds. He said that sometimes you'll scatter your seed, the seed meaning the word, and it'll fall on hardened ground, people who are not receptive to it. It might fall into ground that absorbs it at first, but because there's no root in that seed, it gets washed away. It doesn't ferment. It doesn't take hold to the ground. There are other instances where the seed might be planted around weeds. So it comes into the ground, but the weeds choke it out. And then, of course, there is the seed that is sown into good soil. And it produces seed 100-fold. It grows into great harvest. And that's a lot of times what we do when we make a New Year's resolution or we make a choice to make a change. Some of us, though we might have the seed of wanting better, we don't have the nourishment to make it grow. And so come June, July, we have broken away from what we resolved to do in the beginning of the year. I would argue that you can make a change any time of the year. You don't need a New Year's resolution in order to make a revolutionary change in your life. But for those who may be on the verge of saying, I want different, I want better, be encouraged because you can. Storms are talked about in the scriptures. They're talked about in the scriptures. There's one that I really want to read. And this is coming out of Mark, the 4th chapter, the 37th verse. And a fierce windstorm began to blow, and waves were breaking over the boat, so that it was already being swamped. But Jesus was in the stern, asleep, with his head on the sailor's leather cushion. And they woke him and said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we are about to die? And he got up and sternly rebuked the winds and said to the sea, Hush, be still, muzzled. And the wind died down, as if it had grown weary. And there was at once a great calm, a perfect peacefulness. Jesus said to them, Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith and confidence in me? And they were filled with great fear and said to each other, Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Jesus says that the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. A mustard seed is very, very tiny. You just need a little bit, and you can tell a mountain to be moved and cast into the sea. Change, adversity, Change, positive change, comes at great cost. That cost usually is adversity or a storm. Because think of yourself as a ship. You've set your heading. You're going to course in the direction where God has called you to be, in your purpose, the reason why you are here. And as you are serving in that direction, storm will hit you. James, the book of James, talks about your tongue and the words that come out of your mouth being like the rudder of your ship, guiding your direction. So that is why it is important to make sure that you take inventory of all the words that you say. We wash our hands, right? You're at the gym, right? I'm trying to work out, trying to get better. You're at the gym. You wash your hands. You use hand sanitizer because we don't want to get sick. But the funny thing is that we don't get sick necessarily from pathogens entering our bodies. Yes, that's true from a medical perspective. We take great care for the physical parts of us getting sick, but we don't take care of the mental, the spiritual, the soul. We don't take care of those things. And so when we want to make change, we usually attack the new direction with words that are not contingent with faith speak. In order to make change, you have to speak words of faith. That's why people are addicted to motivational speakers. That's why they enjoy hearing people who are positive. It's because in order to make the change, to make your future happen, you must embrace faith speak. What is faith speak? Faith is speaking in such a way that your words are going to order where you are supposed to go next. When you have faith in God, you pray that He orders your steps in His will. But your core values must be of faith. As you believe in Him, He is going to start to direct you in such a way that you become your new tomorrow. How does that happen? It happens by what you condition in your ears. We have a lot of people out there who think it is okay to cuss and still walk in faith. We have a lot of people who think it is okay, who say, this new change is hard, it's difficult, it's too hard for me. That is not walking in faith. When you walk in faith, you admit the fact that it might be a challenge, but you speak words of I can, I will, in His name, I will do this, and you pivot and you turn, and you might feel that resistance, but you're going to push through it because you want to become who you're supposed to be. That's why it becomes imperative that you guard your heart, you guard your ears, you guard your mouth. What you say, you will be. So as you think of yourself, that's who you are. How do you sculpt that? By guarding what you say and guarding what you think about. If there is music, look at the lyrics. This is so real. Look at the lyrics to the music you listen to. If it's calling women bees and hoes, I'm so sorry. But how is that faith-driven? I promise you, if you are trying to better your life, in what way is having a woman in your life, friend, sister, mother, cousin, auntie, co-worker, boss, whatever, how is having a woman a bee or a hoe in that new direction to your benefit? If you desire to be a king, you need to walk with queens. And you as a queen, how can you allow that messaging into your psyche as you are trying to pivot and turn into your new direction? To walk in faith means you feed your spirit man with the words that it needs in order to fulfill your destiny. Jesus said, there was a rich man who came to him. And he said, Lord, I will do anything. I want to follow you. Jesus said, okay, very well then. Sell all the things that you own and come follow me. And this man was very rich. And he was greatly disturbed by this. He got sad and he turned away. And Jesus said, it is easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for the rich to follow me into heaven. And a lot of people take that to mean that you cannot have worldly wealth and follow Christ. That's not true. Not in its entirety. The reason why, let's look deeper into it. The reason why it was hard for the rich man to let go of his worldly possessions is because of how he valued them. One of the most difficult things when you're trying to turn into a new direction is evaluating what in your life that you love dearly and you don't want to depart from to follow his name. Sometimes we deify friendships. We deify people in our lives that we think are really, truly our friend. We think to ourselves, how God doesn't want me to get, there's no way this has anything to do with my faith. We can be friends, right? Yeah, you can be friends from afar. Yeah, because this thing is spiritual. All you have to do, if you want to test a friendship, all you have to do is tell that friend, I can't go with you there. When they try to pull you into things that are in conflict with the things of God, all you have to do is say, this is why I can't go. Did you know that the Bible says this, this, this? Most people don't want to hear that. The ones who aren't willing, the eagles who are not willing to fly with you where you need to go, they ain't trying to hear it. They're going to shut it down. Well, I thought this was a friendship. If I tell you as my friend, I need these things in order to fulfill where I'm going, in order for you to fly with me, I need you to do these things, and they're not doing them because they're pulling and they're going that way, let them go. This is how you weather the storm. This is how you weather the storm. It's hard because we hold on to these friendships. And I'm guilty of this. This is what 2018 taught me. 2018 taught me so much. But mostly, it wasn't my will that was weak in terms of the things that I wanted to pursue in my life. I got a lot of, I got grit. The problem was what I was allowing to feed into me. I thought these people were my friends. I thought that the company that I was keeping was friendly. But what I did not understand, and I later came to appreciate, is that words mean something. And when you tell someone, let's say somebody tells you, it's okay, you don't have to be that holy. So for me, I'm celibate. Praise God, that trial is over. Okay, yeah, I'm celibate. I don't drink, and I don't believe in using profanity. I don't want to tolerate having people into my home who shouldn't be here. Because this is your domain. There are ways that I am living my life and I'm consecrating myself that some people who call themselves my friends, would pick and say, well, you don't really have to do this, or you really don't have to do that, or you can bend in these areas because we're your friends, and that's too crazy, that's too hard. knowing full and well, if my friend is Muslim, I am not going to try to force my faith or bend their faith in order to adhere to mine. I'm not going to try to tell a Muslim to say that Jesus is the Christ, because I understand that and I respect the fact that their faith is different than mine. And if they should have any questions, I'm here, but I respect them in that right. Note, the friends don't always respect me in that same right. What friend asks you to bend and break in areas that they know are contradictory to where you're pivoting towards? Those are not friends. Those are waves. And a lot of us try to anchor in places that are unsafe, and we capsize, and we don't know why. It's because there are a lot of spiritual things that are going on. There's a lot of demonic activity where people try to sink in and link in and destroy you, and you don't even know why. They don't even know why. But their spirit is almost like a guillotine, and you're drawn to them, but you don't know why. And it hurts, and you try to fix it, because that's what the abused does. Abused people, victims, try to fix their abuser. They try to stay with their abuser. But I am here to say it is unhealthy to think you can pivot, turn, and yet hold on to. You got to let them go. And it's not because you're arrogant, and it's not because you're stuck up, and it's not because you don't love them, but it's because you love yourself, because you know that you have to maximize why you're here. You have to fulfill your destiny. There are difficult people that you might be dealing with at your job. There are difficult people that you might be dealing with at work, at school, at home, and maybe you can't divorce yourself from them. We need to understand something. People who talk badly towards you, let's say they ridicule, let's say you're on a job, and this person says, man, she doesn't know anything, she's stupid, or she's incapable, or she's whatever, right? Watch. People who say that sort of thing need the most help, because you have been elected to join their team, which means that you have proven that you have the ability to learn what is needed on that project. If you are a team and this person considers themselves greater, and they don't take the time to clue you in now that you are new and a part of this unit, they are at war with themselves. It is an internal battle. Once you have become part of mine, once you have become part of my team, it becomes incumbent upon me to try with you. Jesus said, the first will become last, and the last shall become first. Those who serve at the table, those who serve are the ones who will be glorified. The reason why that is because how can a house divided still stand? If you are part of me and I am part of you, and if an outsider came in and they didn't know who was who, they would look at us as a whole cohesive unit. We represent the same company. We represent the same family. We represent the same team. We are the one. And if I am over here picking at myself, because technically we are all one, we are on the same team, I'm picking on another member, what does that say about the unity of myself? It is unbalanced. There is no unity. To have someone say to one who is among their group, I don't like you, you're not capable, I don't believe in you, you don't have any idea, whatever, that abusive speak is a reflection of what's going on in their inside. To deal with a person in this sort of turmoil is to pivot turn. You can ask them questions. You can say, well, I'm on your team now, so educate me on what I need to know. Ask questions of this person, because your questioning will throw them off foot. They expect most people, because they lashing out at everybody. You're not special. They lash out at everybody. And when they're lashing out at everybody, they are projecting the turmoil that is going on in the inside. I'm not a psychologist. I can just discern this in the spiritual. When that happens, ask questions. The more questions that you ask a person in turmoil, the more you will see how unbalanced they are. And either they will help you pivot, turn, rise, or they won't. If they don't help, pray. But do not stoop down to their level. Because if you do, you are forsaking your new direction. If you find yourself as the person who is lashing out, you must balance yourself. It is time to make a change. Do realize that your teammates are a reflection of you. A good leader understands that they are only as good as their weakest in their group. Strengthen. And if you are afraid to strengthen, ask yourself why. Are you intimidated? Are you intimidated that somebody might know something different than you? Are you scared of having to do new work because you know this is a new requirement? Should you step down because you are failing to be a good teammate? Sometimes we need to take inventory, and if we don't have the patience to go around with those who we are around, then maybe it is time for us to vacate our post. It is a race. And so you're running your own race. You're running in your own lane, yes? You might run up against somebody, and you guys are running together, and you notice that your pace is a little bit faster than theirs. Well, if you don't have the patience to cheer this person on and to stay at their pace, keep going. Take inventory. So to weather the storm, you must understand what you have allowed to latch onto yourself, whether internal or external. And you have to have the faith to walk. There is one scripture I want to read, another one. And this is in Matthew chapter 14, verses 28 through 31, the NIV version. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Jesus said, come. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid. Beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. O ye of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? We doubt for so many reasons. You notice how, there were 12 disciples, right? And they were all in this boat. And Jesus was out in the water walking, right? But out of the 12, one asked to come out and see him. One had the faith that said, you know what? If that's you, I can do it too. I believe. And Jesus said, come on out. But when adversity, when you pivot, turn, you're walking in your direction. When you pivot, turn, and them hard winds start to come in. Financial attack, spiritual attack, marriage attack, friendship attack, things going on. Hit. The question is, do you keep walking or do you start sinking? If you start sinking it, is it because the weight of what you're supposed to have let go? Or is it because you're starting to sink because you're starting to lose sight of where you're supposed to go? The pressures of the world can start to choke. That good seed, it can start to choke you and keep you from where you need to be. Purge yourself of things. I don't care if it's music. I don't care if it's the news. I don't care what. If it is something that is making you feel that you cannot do, release that thing. And you will start to rise up. And I know I am living testimony. I had beautiful friends, I thought. I thought I had some really beautiful friends. I thought I had people who would have my back like I had their back. I thought I had people who were stronger spiritually than I thought they were. Like, for real. It's like you have a wise conversation with somebody, and then it goes secular, it goes fleshly, it goes carnally. It's okay. It goes there real quick. May I say this? Ladies, you're out with a man, and he doing all this, checking out other women. He say he a prophet of God. He say he's called of God. He ain't gotten his flesh in order yet. He ain't got his flesh in order yet. He's still a victim of his flesh. Person comes up to you talking about, yeah, I'm saved, I'm sanctified, I'm spirit-filled, but they're trying to look for ways to still satisfy their flesh. They lack discipline. They lack discipline. It burns. I'm telling you, when you start to rise towards your destiny, when you start to go towards where you want to go, it burns. It feels like a workout. It feels like a straight up workout. Yeah. And unless you want to be a follower, unless you want to be with everybody else, where everybody else is, living the average life, you are going to have to spend a lot of time alone, cultivating yourself, so that when it is time for you to have the right friends among you, around you, you can be a person who is going in this direction, running with you, running with them, offering the support mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever it is that you're supposed to do. Because if you haven't, and you're still holding on to the demonic activity, the naysaying, the people who say that you can't do, and all that stuff, if you still have those seeds in you, guess what? That spreads. It's like a virus. It's like a virus. There are a lot of films that are coming out now that are making analogies to what it's like to walk in faith. You know, we got people talking about Bird Box and all this other stuff. Yes, I get the symbolism. However, films that use profanity, but, you know, are supposed to be an analogy to walking in faith, I don't necessarily approve of it. I don't approve of it, because words are seeds. Words are seeds. There should be no seed planting of stuff that is not of God or is of faith. Everybody, you know what? Fine, you're entitled to your opinion, but in my opinion, in order to have a good team, in order to have a good dynamic, you know, you want to go in faith, you want to go farther, you want to go in prosperity, you need to speak words of prosperity, words of encouragement. That's why instead of watching Bird Box, might I recommend that you watch the Gospels on Netflix. You got the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of Mark, the Gospel of Luke, and John. All four Gospels, and it's literally the Bible spoken over Aramaic. So that I really believe there are a lot of people who don't understand what Jesus really said. They listen to their pastors, they listen to orators, but they don't really get to know him. And if you just watch those, you'll get to know him. And then as you study deeper, you'll start to understand the prophecy that was spoken in the Old Testament, and how Christ came to fulfill the law, and how he challenges us on everything. Jesus speaks about fulfilling what he has implanted in you. He talks about talent being placed inside of you, and how some of us put it in the ground and we hide it because we are concerned about losing what we already have. There is a parable talking about the talents. There were 3 servants, one who had 5, 2, and 1, I believe. And then one grew it double. The other one got 2 more. And then the one hid it in the ground. Okay? I'm paraphrasing big time. The reason why we hide what we have in the ground is because we are afraid. We are afraid of what other people are going to say about us. We are afraid about what other people are going to think. We are afraid about losing ourselves, and so we hide. But what kind of life is that? If you have joy, if you have prosperity, if you have encouragement, if you have things that would make a team go this way, why would you hide that? Don't be afraid. The battle is already the Lord's. You've already won. I tell you this is how confident I am on this. This is how confident. Not only am I posting this on Facebook, but there is no part of my life that I hide Christ in now. There's none. There is none. Because what else is there? Dog, what else is there? Like what, darling, what else is there? To hide it, why? Because you think that your own way is going to work, and if you conceal it, you're going to stay, right? You going to stay all right. You're going to stay that way. You're going to stay down here. Grow it. Grow in 2019. I speak words of faith. I speak words of prosperity. I speak words of joy and peace and understanding. Wisdom. Seek wisdom. Gain understanding. Seek first the kingdom of God. Order your steps. Get in there. Keep in there. A lot of saints have messaged me. Keep going. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Because it's not crazy. And because it's nothing to be depressed about. And because, you know what? I don't care if you have no friends. Guess what? Facebook is fake book anyway. And there's a lot of people on here who is fake. There's a lot of marriages who are on here that are fake. There are a lot of relationships on there that are fake. A lot of people who are in turmoil. A lot of that is not real because you know what? They weren't walking in their purpose when they got into those situations. Marcus Rogers had this really, really good video about why do saved people get divorced. And I'm going to paraphrase this real quickly. He says it's like you running, right? You running. You serving God, you running. And then you look over and you see somebody who's fine, but they running that way, okay? They running that way. And you running and you say, oh, they fine, you know what I mean? And so you turn back and you try to run with them, going back that way. And then you realize you get convicted and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. So you start to turn back around, and face God, you know what I mean? But you're doing laps. You're running around in circles. Saved, oh goodness, somebody pull me out of it, right? It's that battle between this way and that way. And the problem with that is that it delays your destiny. It delays where you're supposed to go. So instead of it taking a year for you to get there, it takes you 5, takes you 10, takes you 7, takes you ever extra to fulfill what God has called you to do. He said that a lot of times saved people get married and get divorced because they were cool with the sin, right? They like, y'all meet, you agree on the sin that should be in your life, right? It's sex, you're fornicating, you know what I mean? Like whatever. So you get married, you have kids, you got a whole situation, and then God calls you out of your sleep. And if you are not equally yoked, he's going to go that way, or she's going to go that way, and he's going to go that way, or she's going to go that way. And then you there's no marriage. There's no relationship. How did you grow apart? You grew apart because one of you is starting to walk that way. And so you got to let go of that stronghold. And I know a lot of people don't believe in, in divorce and everything because God hates divorce. And yeah, well, he also does not approve of some of the unions we choose to get ourselves in. Not every marriage is God ordained. Let me say it again. Not every union that comes together under the premise of love is for real. If it is of God, then that person y'all will fly together. Y'all will be eagles together. Were we in the spirit when we chose that person? Or were we satisfying our flesh? Or our clock, our imaginary clock, whatever that is. What is that? Come on. Like, troubled waters will come. Storm will come. They come. They come. And if you haven't had a storm yet, it's on its way. Don't worry. Don't worry. What builds character, what defines you, what sifts you out, is how you weather it. Do you sell out? Do you cave a bit? Or do you rise to the task and do it in earnest and with integrity? Are you afraid to stand alone when the winds get hard, when the waves start to hit you? What is your foundation? Do you have one? If not, will you find it? Will you start to ask the questions that define who you are as a person? So a lot of people who are empty. They are so smart. They are so smart. But they are empty because they have no foundation. And you know that they have no foundation because of how they speak to you. That's the undoing of a genius, darling. They might mentally be a genius, but if they have no foundation, they have no way to speak to you in faith. Because they don't know who they are yet. They have esteemed themselves on worldly knowledge and worldly possessions, but they have no idea of what it is to maximize themselves so that it spreads towards others like a great thing should, like a blessing should, like an anointing should. They don't know how to lead. Instead, they micromanage. Instead, they talk down to. Instead, they depress and they cast shadow upon. Instead of enlightening and enriching. That's the difference. Yes? That's the difference between walking in prosperity and just, nobody wants that. Take inventory. Find out who you are.